Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show on our Friday show. It's just me and Beth. So we are going to be talking about all the things we want to talk about now that everybody else is finally gone. Finally, Beth, you and I can just do what we want to do with this show. It is Friday, September 26th. It's been a long week. I got up at 5 to start working on more AI stuff. Let me try that again. It's September 26th, 2025. This is the Daily AI Show. I try to do that like Jimmy. And like I said, it's me and Beth. I've had caffeine. I'm talking fast. I'm animated. I'm excited, Beth. So this should be a good Friday show, I think. And I thought what would be fun is because I've been out all week, not out. I've been so busy, Beth. So busy. I keep putting more hours in and it's like the job goes, thank you more. Could you give us more? And I'm like, I don't want to.
You see more capacity. So let's see if you could stretch this far.
Yeah. And by the way, that's not knocking my company or anything like that. We've been very busy, at Skaled, which is a blessing. Look, you and I are not unaware of the current job market, let's call it, or whatever. I can't talk for everybody. I can just say for the people that I know in my life, getting that next job has been difficult. And it seems to be a repeating pattern there. We've obviously had shows about how AI is impacting that negatively, I'll say. But it's not great out there. In fact, I just saw an AI, it's going to be a squirrel kind of day. I can already tell with my brain. Because I've pivoted 3 times off the main road here, but I'll get back to it. What I was going to say, Beth, is that I just saw a YouTube video. I haven't watched it yet, but it was like, what is job hugging? And I was like, that's a great title because it was a CNBC thing, which I've watched a couple CNBC things because I like their, it's not really a political leaning one way or the other. They just tend to put out a lot of good AI content. They're like kind of crushing it on the short form content for it. And they're interviewing people I care about and they're going out to data centers and things like this. And so anyway, I get fed a lot of it. The algorithm's like, gotcha, Brian. And this one was like, but what is job hugging? And it basically was like, job hugging is essentially people hanging on to their current work because it doesn't necessarily feel like a great time to be out exploring, perhaps, or whatever. And so anyway, I am thankful to be where I am. We have pushed so hard at Skaled over 2+ years now. We were really, really early into, just as a reminder, Skaled does sales consulting. So I probably should stop saying this, but I'm a sales consultant, obviously, but I'm not a sales expert. And I never even came into Skaled that way. So like we have people who rewrite whole sales playbooks and we have people who rewrite whole rev ops systems. That's never been my job. I've always been on the outside. And so I ran LinkedIn strategy for a really long time at Skaled, or 2 years, I should say, half the time I've been there. And then, this little old ChatGPT, and the DALL-E 2 came out, and I was like, that's really interesting. And of course, you and I caught the bug around the same time as far as that goes. And we've already talked about, the AI exchange and Rachel Woods and all the people that were influential to us early on. But I also started building with Skaled. I had a CEO, Jake Dunlap, who is right there with me and was like, this is the future. I'm sure of it. Cut to 2 years of grinding it out. I mean, we've had success. We've sold things. I mean, early on, I sold prompt libraries and I've sold courses and I've taught so many courses and I've trained so many sales teams and stuff like that. But I will tell you in the last 2 months, Beth, it's just been like kind of bonkers. And so I went from being on a manageable amount of projects to being on all the AI projects, and all the projects coming in the door were AI projects. So good problem, but not so great for little Brian over here. So this week, though, I mean, I've been working on so many different projects. Some of them are pretty straightforward, but the things that I've really loved doing is I've really now with ChatGPT 5, although I bitch and moan about the router a lot because I just don't think it's great, but it's suitable. And I put out a LinkedIn post about that. But I have seen the progression of where what we would call an assistant could go. Now, assistant, as far as Skaled is concerned, an AI assistant is a custom GPT, a gem, a copilot, because they all use very similar prompting. And in fact, they're mostly plug and play. Little differences, right? Like gems, which just became shareable, which is nice. That was a huge miss. Gems, you can't have like a starter button. And I've always written my stuff to say like I'm ready to begin, because I'm always thinking about that end user. I know you focus a lot on that area too. Like I just wanted to be dumb easy for the end user. You know, it's not, who cares about a great prompt? Who cares if it looks perfect in a prompt? Or, you know, I tip my cap and I go, hey Beth, look at this prompt, and you're like, that's a clean prompt, you know, like somebody would do for coding. If it
Sweet.
end user experience, right? Because it, like, I don't care if it's AI, it doesn't mean everybody else is as excited as us. And some rep out there, some sales rep out there who was minding their own business at their company, and then their company a lot of times says, hey, we have this new AI initiative and it's going to include change management. We all know how that goes. And people go, I give it one shot. And so I always have this vision in my head of like, the end user is, I'll give this one shot to work. And I always feel like it better deliver, you know, it better not fall on its butt. And obviously 2 years ago, that was a different story because it was falling on its butt a whole lot more with like ChatGPT and stuff. So outside of those, which are great, you know, I think we're just sort of crushing in that area of building really custom ones. I've done stuff in legal now, ones that are doing, in the middle of them are doing math computations and looking at mean averages and percentages, and doing it consistently without fail, which is really, really fun in the middle of other word, you know, things. But this, like literally this morning, I got up at 5 a.m. to work on a client project. And I've worked at this like 2 or 3 times and run into dead ends. But essentially what we need to do is we need to call in traffic data. Now, not live traffic data. I'm not rebuilding like a GPS unit. But I need to see historical traffic data, because this particular company cares how many people are going by their leads or prospects businesses, right? So, okay, right? So what's interesting is we looked at a solution that they're paying a monthly fee to it. We thought, I don't know. I think there's maybe a way you don't have to pay that. Mind you, that fee per year was more than our entire contract we had with them. So what they're paying for in a year was more than what they're paying Skaled to solve problems for them, right? So it was like a really fun place to come in, because we're like, we think we can actually just like cut that out. So without giving too much more away about it, this morning I back into N8N and with ChatGPT and API documents that are frankly a little over my head. I mean, you know, you can read them, Beth, but like API documentation sometimes can be just rough, you know? And it's like, I know it's all there, but thank God you have something like a ChatGPT 5, which can go in and go, I understand the directions. I also understand what you're trying to do. And then like, let's come up with a plan together. And it's really this fun AI co-worker experience. And so for 3 hours straight this morning, and the reason I started at 5 was because uh, I get interrupted all day with that,
Right.
in the nicest way. But other people wake up and then they start to ask things. And I'm also working with people in Barcelona, in Abu Dhabi, and other parts of the world, right? And so they're already working and they're like, great, Brian's online. So I have to sneak in low and quiet and do it in a dark room, quite literally. And so anyway, I got it to work this morning. I was, and the result of this, Beth, is like, and I'll shut up so you can talk about your thing, but I got it to work. And what does that mean? What does it mean getting to work? Well, I successfully got the N8N workflow to pull in the right traffic data via an API through TomTom, of all places. We say, remember TomTom. Guess what? TomTom's doing just fine. Yeah, TomTom's still out there kicking. You know, I think we think of it as like Garmin and stuff like that, you know, back in the day, but TomTom's fine. So I was pulling into their data and then using AI to create polygons, to create maps, because you have to take an address, you have to turn that into lat and longe. Then you have to draw polygons around that area. I learned all this, right? You have to draw polygons around that area. And then based on the delta, you can kind of figure out what that traffic data would be, which now means, because we're already building in Salesforce. So, I mean, you know this, but we already AI enrich everybody's account and contact page. We're already doing that now in like opportunities. In this particular company, you can imagine they care about the volume of traffic past a business that might be to theirs. So now the opportunity comes into Salesforce and I can auto trigger it to go grab this new traffic data. Then once it's back in Salesforce, and if Salesforce is the single source of truth, now it opens up the world to go produce these other documents that they might want and stuff like that, because I've done all their AI enriched data on the person, the company, now the location, the geo of it, and traffic data, which this is the fun, right? Because now you can take AI and put together something that feels, most of my world revolves around making things more personalized to the to the prospect, to the lead. How do I make this about them? How do I make this feel like I intimately know what they're thinking about the pains they're dealing with in their job, and they're thinking they're on an island, and here I come swooping in, and I'm like, I see you on that island, and you're not only on the island, the other people are on the other side of the tree line. There's actually 500 other CEOs on the other side of the island, but you can't see them because of the mountain range, but you're all there, but you feel alone, and you're writing SOS in the sand quietly because you don't want to let anybody else know you're a CEO that doesn't have all the answers. And then I come on swooping in, and I'm like, I get you. I see you. I see what you're doing. And also, we have this solution, and our value props match really well with that SOS you're drawing in the sand. And you don't have to tell anybody you're drawing SOS in the sand. Okay, we make you call it out, or you don't have to get in a big group and of other CEOs, which, I mean, are helpful, right? These exist, these executive clubs and stuff. And not even just CEOs, any level, right? CFO, whatever, CTO, but it's about seeing them. And AI does such a good job of seeing people. Okay, I think I've literally, no, not literally. You said like 4 words, and I've talked for 11 minutes and 47. I have caffeine. Hey, Beth.
Hey, Brian. Great
What
to
you
have you
doing?
back.
What's going on in your world today?
So, I think what you're doing is really interesting, and I think it's really exciting. And I'm watching the evolution of you coming in and saying, "Hey, so I think N8N is going to be a thing, and I'm going to dive into it and really like be fluent in it because I think it's going to work in ways that are going to benefit the people at my company, the people my company helps, right? Us as a team, all those things. And I love watching the evolution. I was spending more time in Make because that was where Rob Lennon, who's I'm part of his community, and I engage with him quite a lot. He was sort of focusing more on Make, and now he's jumped to N8N also for some of the benefits. And so it's actually really fun now to be like hearing more and more about it and kind of playing more in that context. The thing that I brought today was after yesterday's episode, which was about CRISPR and the idea of using LLMs to identify language that could then be both interpretable, right? So you're having a conversation with the LLM in your language about the language of the genome and that kind of stuff. Our friends at Sakana introduced a, a paper. All right, come on, let me find it. Introduced an open source a paper for Shinka Evolve. And that is an open source set of code designed to do this kind of thing. So it's open-ended scientific discovery using generative AI. And what they did was really focus on sample-efficient evolutionary search. So previously, generally when things start, it's like big hammer, right? Throw all the resources that you have at it and see what happens. And then the next step is how many of those resources were relevant, right? We can start shrinking it. And this is what they did. So they it leverages large language models as evolutionary mutation operators, because that's the way nature invents, right? It innovates by like, let's mutate this. Let's just throw some mutations at the wall and see if something survives longer, replicates better, all of those sorts of things. To propose, mutate, and select candidate solutions. So it mirrors how CRISPR GPT uses LLMs to design and optimize genetic sequences, but in a more efficient package. And the other reason that we really love Sakana is that often what they do is open source. Like they give you, they're like their old-fashioned scientific exploration where they give you the recipe and say, go see if you can do it too, because once it's replicated, that's a great thing. So so I thought that was interesting that that came out yesterday after the show.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they listen to the show or anything. They are in Japan, but I'm not saying they don't.
I mean, we don't know is what we're saying. So they're a potential audience. I mean, we could say that with that's a fact. They are in our potential audience. No, I mean, listen, God, how many times we brought up Sakana and we've been like, check out this cool research paper. This has got to be the 5th or 6th one, I think, at this point. They never disappoint. They
No.
never disappoint. They're always like really forward thinking. And I was just talking about this yesterday in that LinkedIn post that I was talking about. So this is my little bit of a pivot because, by the way, I don't think I can do better than your weave from CRISPR to this because that's gene splicing, right? That's super cool. But I've talked about this on the show before, but I think, Beth, like, we're so used to I put this information in and the LLM takes that information and it does its best and it gives me an output. Predicted output, right? Like we know that's not, it's always predicting. But there is like you read these papers, and then like I was talking about yesterday, and I've talked about on the show, and I have no idea. I'm not smart enough to know whether it truly is like a blockchain type situation or not. But what I do feel, and I do think we're seeing more and more and more with thinking and the reasoning models and stuff like that, is because the costs continue to just drive down ridiculously, fast, that it's eventually compute wise and energy consumption wise and all the things that matter, latency, are all going to get to a point where you're anyone real request is probably going to be run and mutated, for lack of a better term, and branched and moved off of here and brought back over here. And I think that's going to happen in the blink of an eye. I think the computations that are going to happen with multiple LLMs of all different sizes, kind of like the router, but like a more intelligent router. And the reason I say that is I think it has to happen because I think this is the actual solution for hallucination, which is not to say you fix hallucinations. I think there's a variable there and a percentage that's always there if it's a predicting model, right? Like there's always a chance. But as I was saying in a response to somebody else on my comment, what does the percentage go down to if instead of me getting a hallucination after one research result, it instantaneously to me in a blink of an eye runs it through 10? What are the statistical chances that all 10 or 9 or even 8 of 10 would have the same hallucination? And so what you end up having are very, very fast evaluation models that are all pinging back and forth at each other and saying, this is the most true answer based on us looking at it 6 different ways from Sunday. And I think that will all just happen in the same way that we use ChatGPT today. It just will be in the back end. And this goes into that sort of black box area that Ethan Mollick was talking about, is like, we're going to have to get okay with the idea that we just don't know and can't know how the LLM, how the AI came back with the answer. What we're probably going to have to get comfortable with, and it's going to take some humbling and it's going to take some ego checking, is people say, I'm moving forward with this result as correct because I have no other reason to believe it's not correct. Not that I know that, like, but that the percentage of chances of hallucination, because it ran it through 10 different routes and came back, are now like 0.001 or something crazy, right? 0.01 even. So now you're looking at it and saying, like, people go, well, it could have hallucinated. You're like, I guess statistically, mathematically, yes. But we're now moving forward with 0.01% chance. We're now way, 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 way above 99th percentile of it actually being correct. And I think that's how you get from a predictive model to confirmed or nearly confirmed results that people go, I'm just going to move forward with that because I couldn't have possibly been the expert in all these fields. Like Ethan pointed out in his paper, his last blog that he did, like I can't be the expert in all area. So is it magic? Well, the fact of the matter is this AI is capable of branching off, mutating, maybe even spinning up net new temporary experts and
Mhm.
dropping them from memory and dumping them from memory to me what feels like a blink of an eye, a la it's a magician that's doing sleight of hand, and your brain goes, I didn't see it, so it feels magical. But we
Mhm.
know that if we expose the trick, it's misdirection, it's sleight of hand, and da, 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 and then there's the flowers, right? Or there's the rabbit out of the hat or whatever. I really do believe this will be the next evolution when this hits, and people will go, "Oh, this is AGI." And honestly, Beth, I think what it'll be is just really, really fast math,
Mhm.
like really fast, lightning, faster than anything we've seen before, and the cost won't be much more. What's
Mm.
your thoughts on that?
Well, I think I go back to mm, the full understanding of what a hallucination is, because the process of hallucinating is the same as not hallucinating, right? Like what it is
Mhm.
doing in generating an answer
Right,
is the same process. It becomes a hallucination when it did something factually incorrect, which is not a part of the process. The
right.
process does not go out and look at facts first, which is why if there's maybe you have an AI, what you're saying is like there's a buddy that goes out, doesn't invent the answer, right? That doesn't generate the answer, but does do a search. The other part of it for me is understanding what, because we engage with AI on computers, I really feel like that's a big challenge. And once we start really moving things to voice, I think
Mm,
maybe people will have an easier time understanding that people fudge things in conversations all the time. But when you do a search, when you ask a computer to search something, you are expecting that it comes back with a correctish answer, or at least it has a source for the answer, right? Like Google pulls wrong answers from people's websites all the time,
yeah,
way before AI enhanced Google, right?
sure.
Then you
Yeah.
needed to click the thing and see, oh, was this correct?
Mhm.
So that you're doing those kind of links and research. I think that the more people understand what a hallucination is,
Right.
the better people will engage with that too. And the more people will not get fooled by it, right?
Mm,
Just because your computer is responding to you in like, "Thank you for asking me to give you my super
right,
intelligence
right, yeah,
because I know all things."
yeah,
Uh, just because you're talking to something that sounds really confident, and when that came in a human package, you either had the gut sense that they were full of it or they
yeah,
actually knew what they were talking about. I feel like we need a third thing, right? This is door number 3. This
mm,
sounds that way because that is a pattern of communication, not because it thinks it's 100% correct, because it's not.
that's not the
It's
goal.
only trying to do the pattern, right?
Yeah,
And
I
therefore,
mean,
that is the correction.
what I'm
Uh,
hearing you say, if I hear it correctly, and I mean, I think I am, is to the LLM, the hallucination was not an error. It did not fault. It
right.
simply came back with what it felt was the truth, like, I don't know, the answer, the result. I don't want to say truth or facts or whatever. It like that's how that reasoning model at that particular moment determined what the result should be. But even though we may look at it and go, that's not correct, the model is not looking at it as an error.
The
It
model
doesn't
was never
care.
trying to be
Right,
correct.
right.
Model
Yeah,
isn't interested in factually correct
right.
information. There are other systems that are. Do a
Yeah,
Boolean search to a database that
yeah.
has information cataloged, right? And in fact, we can go back to Salesforce. That's what Salesforce AI that's why Salesforce is the single source of truth, because the AI that you are integrating with is executing the Boolean search
Right.
that comes back with the correct
Correct.
information
Yeah.
about the address, the email, the last conversation, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Then it goes into a reasoning AI model that is looking at patterns about conversations, sales processes that have those same kind of pattern markers and suggesting the next things. And the more data you have on a particular business, the more personalized to that industry, that business happens, right? But those are two separate pieces that I think most people don't get. And you can't AI your Boolean search based on just pattern based,
Right.
well, this sounds right kind of data, because it
Yeah.
will sound right. Um, and it is important even for people who aren't data nerds like Brian and I, um,
I do
to
like a little.
understand,
I do like data.
yeah,
Yes.
to
Yes.
understand what comes from a pile of data and what comes from a pattern based on a pile of data.
Yeah. And you know what? That's my favorite thing to do is take verified data and then apply reasoning, strategy, all the things AI is able to do, you know. And can you really Boolean search? Gareth, sorry. Reading a bad dad joke from Gareth. Thanks,
I
Gareth.
didn't hear it out loud, so thank you for helping me get.
But can you Boolean search? Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well done, Gareth.
We'll let everybody know why we're laughing.
Yeah, sorry. Freddie should probably put it on. I'm gonna call that a dad joke. I'm gonna say that's right up there. Um what I was gonna say on that, I don't know what I was gonna say, but the other point I was gonna make earlier, it's not even a point.
Ooh. All right. Whatever point Brian was gonna
Me.
apparently. Oh,
And we're back. Sorry. I don't know why I kicked this out, but it did.
I don't.
What I was gonna say is yesterday it occurred to me that um there's a funny story about the day that I proposed to Amanda. It's in Hawaii. This is 2004. Because we got married in 2006. I knew I was going to propose, obviously, that night on the beach of Waikiki. I had a book, Beth, of all the places I could have asked her with pictures, and it rhymed, right? Back in the day when you make a good Shutterfly book, I crushed this, right? I didn't have ChatGPT either. I had to write that damn rhyme myself. So I had all these pictures and stuff like that, right? And so I said, all the places you're going to marry me, right? Well, that morning, we knew previously. Amanda's like, it'd be fun if we run this little race, at 5 a.m. in the morning, and then it'll be a fun way on our vacation, right? Because that's Amanda's a runner at heart, and I'm not. And so anyway, the joke of this, the reason I bring this up is that she, as we've told the stories over the 20 plus years, that I will intentionally inflate the length of the race because it started as a 5K and then I'll say 8K sometimes. I think most recently I called it a 15K. And Amanda just looks at me like a two-part comedy duo and she goes, "It gets bigger every single time you tell this story." And I was like, who could remember so long ago? It must have been a 15K. And I ran and I ran and I tell this whole story and I usually have people laughing. I've told it many times. Anyway, I was thinking about that because I come from like an Irish background and I'm fully baptized in the idea that you don't let facts get in the way of a really good story. And so when you think about LLMs working with AI, and then what we expect of it, like I think Greg was saying it earlier, like how we sort of define what errors are. We're putting that on the LLM, and it's funny. You're right. Like we talk to people all the time who are the Cliff Clavins of the world, who just come across confident as knowledgeable, and back in the day, you'd have to just go like, I don't know why they would make that up. That sounds right to me. What we're going to do, go get an encyclopedia from the shelf and like go figure that out and see if they were right about Peru. You're just going to take it at face value. You're going to be like, he's saying it really confidently. And so it's funny that we have like these such stringent rules on a system that was built on the idea of the AI, the brain, the neurons, the connections. And then we're like, ooh, you shouldn't You shouldn't fib. You shouldn't. And then, like, sometimes I just think like the A is like, hey, listen, man, don't let AI get in the way of a really good, convincing answer, or not AI, but don't let facts get in the way of a really convincing answer. And the follow up to that is this morning, not about the race, but I was saying goodbye to my wife in the morning. But it's like before 7 a.m. I'd already been working on this project I told you about earlier for a couple hours at that point. And she said, how is it going? And as I was giving her a hug, I was like, well, ChatGPT is currently whispering sweet nothings into my ear and telling me this is all going to work out. And we are halfway through this N8N workflow, and it is more confident than ever that we are on the path to, glory here. Now, this particular time it worked out, but just as many times I've been in a very convincing conversation with ChatGPT at 6 a.m. on some weekday or weekend, unfortunately, where it's whispering sweet nothings into my ear and saying in a very convincing way, we're almost there, Brian. We're almost at the end. This is going to be so amazing. And you have to kind of laugh at that a little bit and kind of deal with that sort of area. And I don't know if that'll go away more or not, but it makes me laugh when I see that kind of stuff, because I'm like, yeah, okay, we're almost there, yeah, we'll just keep
Right.
moving ahead here.
Well, and it's interesting. So I've spent the last 30 years of my life living in Washington, D.C., right
Mhm.
outside of Washington, D.C. And I think a lot about diplomacy and how there is actually a path for building something together with people you don't trust. Right? Like that is the act of like, how do you move forward when you both want to move forward, but you're not at a place where you can trust each other. And I feel like that is um, missing in a lot of education, because the education system that I grew up in and learned was really much more about identify your facts. It must always be factual, cite your
Mhm.
sources so that you know that these things are happening. And we don't really get the kind of we don't practice the kind of collaboration that happens in systems around diplomacy, right? Around like, okay, how do we move? Do we have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to trust each other, or can you trust things like mutual interest,
Mm.
right? Those kinds of things. And then there's the whole story of the scorpion that kills whatever's getting him across the river. So it's not 100% foolproof, right? um, but I think a lot about that um, in terms of identifying if you know how it's forming its answer, are you more informed about whether you can trust it or not? Right. And
Mm.
Greg has been saying lately in the chat, learn to trust yourself, right? If you can trust yourself, you can trust what you're doing. And that's also
Yeah.
kind of that thing like, okay, so if I know why I want this answer to be correct, now it's an internal investigation.
Mm.
Did I ask for this so that I don't need to like do the footwork to try to make sure that it's correct? Okay, so I should not trust that answer because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah. Is it laziness? Is it like, yeah, I don't want to know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, my need is not sufficient. We have not risen to the
And
level.
there, I think, again, going back to Ethan Mollick's last blog about that, like, I can't remember, I wish I could remember the name off the top of my head, but it had to do with like magic or something. Anyway, it's brilliant. But he was just talking about how we're going to have to like decide when it's okay to not know how the AI worked, but kind of shrug our shoulders and go, but I accept it. I accept that
Yeah.
answer. And I don't know how I did it. And I'll never know how I did it, because I can't really, even at this point, retrace the 7 different paths it took. I might be a semi-expert in one area, but I'm not in the 6 others. And so I can't code or I can't whatever. And it went and looked at legal and it looked at this and that. And I have to go, I mean, I'd have to go gather, as he was saying, this is not my idea, as he was saying, I'd have to gather, a good group of experts to say, well, you look at this piece and I'll look at this piece. And God knows a week from now, we'll come back and try to determine whether this was in fact correct. Or is there, the future really is blind trust. I don't know how else to say it.
Mhm.
But also he was saying we're going to have to determine when we do that and also when we use it as more of the coworker. Because his whole point was I wrote a book called Co-Intelligence and the idea that you're working alongside the models. But he's like, and not that it's out of date. That's true. I've just talked about a couple instances literally this morning where I worked
Mhm.
alongside the GPT, but I always understood what it was doing from step to step. I go, yeah, I didn't know how to do it, but I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I would push back in some areas. And me and the AI worked together through it.
Mhm.
That's different than if I had just gone to ChatGPT in some future state and I said, here's the beginning, here's the end, go. And the output was the entire N8N workflow flawlessly.
Mhm.
And in the thinking of it, it never exposes all the steps to me.
Mhm.
So not only do I not know, I can't know. I
Mhm.
can't go uncover for reasons, maybe because of the way that model was written, OpenAI's reasons versus Grok's reasons or whatever. Some of that is sort of cut out and summarized. And so even if I intended to and said, well, how do you do this? I can't actually, in that particular instance, go back and decide to learn on my own. And so it does bring up this really interesting conversation about who are the experts? Where do we need experts? How do you get expertise if the spell check is always right or 99% of the time is right, and you have a tool and you go, well, when I was little, my dad would say, like, you've got to get better at spelling. And by the luck of technology, spell check came into my life at the right old time because I would have been suffering big time. And to be fair, though, had I been born 10 years earlier, I today, or in a relative amount of time, would be a much better speller. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a fact. It's a fact. I would be a much better speller. The fact of the matter is, though, I did not have to get better at that expertise because there was a technology that arrived just in time for me
Mhm.
to bridge the gap. And so I'm able to shrug my shoulders and go, if that's the way you spell that word, let's just move on because it does not matter to me that much that I learn this or that I ingrain this. And guess
Right.
what? The next time I'll spell the word wrong again. And the next time and the next time, because I'm always leaning on the fact that I'm going to have this AI or this non AI tool that's just simply going to know the right way to do it. And
Mhm.
we're also used to a spell check. And now if you just take out spell check and put your general AI, and it's always that good,
Right.
where is the impetus to try to learn things? Anyway, go for it. Yeah, I don't know. This way, I'm just thinking out loud. This is where my brain goes with this stuff.
Mhm. And I think that there are two pieces that make this harder for people. One of them is that AI is not a human. It's not a human who has a savant-like ability to do something because we're used to those people. And that it's so fast, that the shift has happened so fast because we do this with people all the time. I have no idea you actually get on YouTube, so you know more than I do, but I don't know what the car people know, right? Like,
Mm,
I don't know how to fix a car.
right.
I, go to the place that fixes my car because I actually go to the dealer because it's worth it to me to
Yeah.
pay more for the dealer to fix the car.
Yeah.
But that is a choice that I'm making based on an averaging of other people that I've talked to, right?
Yeah.
So we're using human recommendations, word of mouth, like social capital, right? So you are recommending this, I trust you, therefore
100%.
I go in that direction. And that is personalized, right? So I would take your recommendation. What I would take your recommendation about a bunch of things, but I might not take your recommendation about shoes.
Hmm.
I'm just randomly picking shit,
Yeah.
because we don't have a shoe history together. There's no reason that we would have the same taste in shoes. But I
Right.
did take a recommendation for computers, right? So
Hmm.
looking for a new computer that was going to be able to match the needs that I had.
Sure.
So we do that anyway, and we actually even do it with AI. We don't know how AI learns how to speak all the languages. That was an emergent property. It wasn't set up to do that, but we can test it, right? Like it did translate Spanish correctly because It speaks Spanish with Spanish speakers.
Right.
Nobody's saying that's a problem.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and that's true even with the more obscure languages, right? The language that only 240 people still speak,
Sure. Yeah.
they're amazed to hear it out loud again, those sorts of things. Um, it's just when it gets a little more black boxy, now we start to get a little concerned because we're not sure about the motivations, right? And the motivations in this context aren't human motives. They're
Mhm.
just phrased as human motives because the language that we're speaking is based on the way humans speak things.
Yeah.
But you could look at motivations and say, instead, what is the highest probability, right? Because that is a motivation for an AI based on a temperature setting.
Mhm.
It is motivated to go toward the highest probability or range further out. And that's how you get creative answers instead of the same high probability answer each time. And I know you know this because we taught it, but I'm saying it to
Yeah.
people. Um, so that kind of understanding of what could be considered a motivation from AI, now we can start to understand some of what might be happening in the black box. But it's true. Uh, we're never going to know.
Yeah. Hey, can I pivot? Because I do want to ask, I know
Yeah.
we're like 40 minutes or whatever. Something I haven't talked to you about in a while, but it'd be fun just for other people to listen to too. Obviously, we've seen some pretty big leaps and bounds on the image side of the world. I mean, I was saying yesterday how great, Nano Banana is. Also, it can be frustrating at times because even when there seems to be like a prompt that's always going to work for getting a 16:9 aspect ratio, I find that image Nano Banana, at least in Gemini, is about 50-50 in following that. And if it's already created it as a square once, come hell or high water, it ain't changing it. It'll tell you it will, but it won't change it to 16:9 because that square is already in the memory. And so in that case, they say just start a new prompt, right? Just start again, start over and try to get it to do it. And I still kind of fail there. But I don't even have a question about Nano Banana, honestly, because I always think back 2 years ago, whenever, not even 2 years, I don't know, whatever. It was early on in the show. And you were talking about this. It was, if I remember right, it was interesting furniture, if I remember right, in MidJourney. I don't remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but like it was maybe furniture that couldn't exist, or no, maybe it was just really interesting furniture that didn't exist. But you were doing that with MidJourney, and it kind of blew me away. You shared it one time on the show, and you're like, this is what I'm working on. And I was like, that's amazing. That's super creative. And I know you, obviously, our whole audience knows you to be super creative, obviously. But what are you doing currently in terms of like what image models you're using? Are you still playing in that area? Is that, have you just sort of fall
Mhm.
off the side? Like, what is it just for fun? Do you have goals for it? Is it just because you just it's your creative outlook? I think everybody would be super like interested to hear like what you're kind of doing. Midjourney, others, I know there's so many of them out there now.
So I am still a Midjourney person because it's a comfort language for me. But
Hmm.
each time Midjourney improves, it improves in a way that is more realistic.
Mm,
Um, Even if the more realism is something that is unreal. And the thing that I was loving in terms of Midjourney early on was the ability to take something and make it defy the rules of physics, right?
mm,
So the things that I really loved to produce were funky kind of furniture that could actually be real furniture, except that it started as a drawing and then moved into 3D.
mm,
But um, it did it in a way that respected each piece of that. Like that was the kind of thing that I really enjoyed doing.
mm,
Um, and I did it by giving Midjourney, um, like funky words. I also did a whole thing about turtle bunnies, right? So it was a bunny turtle,
mm,
um, and Now MidJourney is a little more like, oh, that's cute. We have like this specific part of the very clear bunny, and it's wearing a
Yeah,
turtle
yeah,
shell, and that's how we do our bunny turtle.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I really love and it is this place of hallucination, right? Like, I really love giving AI something that doesn't exist and having it help playfully define it for me.
Hmm.
And that was something that I started really early on. I remember getting really into battery efficiency, right? And being able to capture energy from solar or wind, which is something I've been interested in my whole life.
Mm,
And what are the innovations that need to come in terms of energy storage and batteries?
mm,
And one of the first conversations that I had with ChatGPT was, okay, so have a mental experiment with me. It's now that's been solved, right? Where now we have 10 times more battery efficiency, blah, 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 blah. What what happened? What are the most likely reasons that this occurred? Right.
mm.
And that's just another way of looking at which avenues should we take,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I love that idea.
Um
It's the thought
and the other
experiment side of it, like, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I think yours, and that's what keep going, please. But like, what fascinates me is like the way your mind works.
Mhm.
I find it like it's so interesting. And by the way, people are like, Justin has already said he will shop at Beth's Funky Furniture Warehouse. I think we all would. We just need to link up Beth's ideas with 3D printing and just automate it. And then yeah, there's actually a place called oh, of course, it went right out of my head as soon as I was thinking about it. Dang it. Anyway, it's a newer hotel just south of the airport in Orlando, and they have a
Mhm.
really fun um, gallery garden, I guess you would, of like art installation pieces, and they're very funky. They're like
Mhm.
very funky and fun and just weird and different, but like you can sort of like touch them, and they're like right there and the little right next to it.
Right.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But like, that's the image I have in my head when I think of Beth's Funky Furniture Warehouse. It's like the stuff that's in that art garden that's in
Right.
Orlando, or whatever. But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, keep going if you're still on your track there.
So that's sort of how I started in those places. What I'm working on now, what's exciting me now, are the ways that that Madge can come more to life,
Mm,
because Runway Act Two has the ability to take a human performance, right, and then put it uh, into an AI avatar, and one of Quen's models that just dropped, Quen 2.2, I believe it's a WAN 2.2 avatar, maybe it's not called avatar. It is sometimes and not in other places where I read it. Same kind of idea. So, what I am looking at is what models get put together for far shots or close-up shots.
mm.
So yeah, I said Madge was going to be a 2025 thing. She will. It maybe it looks like it's going to be the end of 2025, not the beginning. But
Yeah.
um, but that is a
Yeah,
place.
that'll be super fun. Is that something you think you're gonna put out through the like Daily Eye show? Like, will Madge have a show through the Daily Eye show network, you think? Or
We'll see. I thought Madge was gonna do like TikTok, like sit down, like Nate Jones kind of stuff. Sit
uh
down, look at the
yeah, yeah,
camera, have some conversation.
yeah,
Um, but the world has moved on, as has Nate Jones. So we'll see
yeah.
where Madge comes out.
Yeah. I don't
Um,
know. It'd be interesting. It is super creative. I know that. And with your background and stuff. And, we always talk about your background in improv comedy and how that I think has a massive impact on how you see AI and stuff. At least I always think so. I always think so. And I've always said that you've always had me convinced that like probably everybody should do more improv comedy classes, whether you ever did it in front of an audience or not. That thinking on your feet, that yes, and I definitely see how that has a direct impact in working with AI. It's
right.
just a different perspective, and I think what comes out of that is your unique ability to Greg, I think Greg was just saying, so Beth, yeah, he says, so Beth was feeding the LLM hallucinations. But that's kind of what you were saying, right? Like I'm telling you, the LLM, like there's no basis for the back of this. To what I'm asking for. I'm asking for you to come up with net new neurons, concepts, ideas based off it, or the idea, like you said, of, hey, okay, cool thought experiment. This exists. How did we get there?
Right.
See, I hope you do give yourself credit for this, Beth. I'm sure you do, but like people don't think like that. I don't think a lot of people think like that. And I think it gives you a real competitive advantage with AI. And I think truthfully, it speaks to like maybe larger um topic, which probably don't have time for today, but like just the larger topic of working with AI gives you this different set of skills that I
Mhm.
know I did not have formulated before. And I guess that comes with anything you do through repetition, right? You're going to get, it's going to get easier. They've said it in the comments too. Like the more you use it, the more you learn what to say or not believe or trust. And that's true. You get a better eye for all of it, with AI. Um, but I know I've experienced in the last couple of weeks as I've gotten really busy talking about what I talked about at the top of the show and just being busy at Scaled, we've had to bring in help. And
Mhm.
now the biggest problem with help is not the help. These are all intelligent people who know how to do what they do. It's my brain is the blocker because I have 2 years of built up. Oh, I just know that that's not why you would do that. But the minute somebody pushes me on it and says, but why wouldn't you do it that way? And I would just go, yeah, I can't answer that. I just know it's not. Don't ask me why I don't why I know that's not the way to why I'm telling you that's a PDF and not a Word document or whatever. But I'm very confident that I'm right on this, right? And
Yeah.
I usually will follow it up to say that's not to say your way wouldn't work, but I've done my way so many times that there's a high level of confidence that it won't break. So
Right.
like, and that's different, right? Because I'm saying like, yeah, you're right. Your way might be better, but here's where we are. Our deliverables are due on this date. I know mine works. And so if we have extra time and you want to play around and throw a PDF in there where I would have normally thrown a doc or maybe a multi-tabbed Google sheet that's, like an Excel file, except, and you wanted to look at tab 7 specifically in row 4 and you want to do
Mhm.
it that way, like, hey, I've seen that work. You're right. Here's what I know will work. If you line that table up as an H1, H2 header with bullet points, the LLM will nail that almost every single time. It will not miss the data.
Right.
It loves some H1, H2 headers, markdown method, right? It is touch and go with sometimes with tables. And so I will default out of tables, not because the LLM is not capable of it. It's just like you get used to the way that things work and they get repeatable, predictable patterns. And so I've been teaching internally. I've been teaching obviously other people how to use AI, but currently I've been teaching internal people or people, you know, internal people, let's just say it that way, how to do what I do.
Mhm.
And it's challenging, it's stressful. I want to give them all the abilities and the things. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. But what is really exposed, and I don't know if you feel this way, is like, yeah, you talk about this every day on the Daily I Show. You do this for 2 years. You build things for people. You teach it back. It fundamentally changes me. And I wish I knew how, not that I'm looking, but I wish I knew how to put that on a resume and make that resonate to somebody, which is to
Mhm.
say, I speak and understand AI. But there's some truth to that. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
pat myself on the back. I think that's anybody who's using AI is it's this new skill set. It's this new communication skill set that I fundamentally believe more and more people just need to have. And I don't have any other solution other than you just need to do it. And if you love building funky furniture, and you like testing a model that way, then that's what you should do,
Right.
because that's what's going to help you get the reps in. And I think it's that. I think it's reps. I don't know any shortcut to it, because you won't know when to push back. You won't know when to pivot. When have you reached a dead end with AI? The AI will, in most cases, tell you you're not at a dead end. It doesn't want to tell you you're at a dead end. It wants to keep producing more ideas, which is
Yes.
great to a point. And then you got to go, this is not the path forward. I've actually
Right.
gone 30 minutes farther on this than I should have, but I
Right.
didn't know. I didn't know I was there until till I was here. And now I really feel like I'm here. And what I see with people who I'm teaching is they don't see the wall.
Mm-mm.
They don't see the wall. And I go,
No.
you're at a wall. you should have pivoted 2 hours ago. And they go, how? And I go, because da, 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 da. I don't know.
Right.
I know you're the same way, Beth, but I just like that's where my brain is literally right now as I go through work and try to teach other people how to do this stuff. Is I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? There's a whole skill set here that I don't know how to define, but it's clearly there because when I talk to other people who I'm teaching, they don't have it. Not to say
Right.
they won't. They'll learn. They'll get there. They'll be smarter than me. If God willing, if I'm doing my job right, they'll pass me. Right. That's always my
Mhm.
dad always claimed that to be the greatest level of success was not where you get, but where the people you mentored before you pass you. If they pass you, that's a huge level. That was always my dad's level of success. Where are the people that worked for me today after I retired? You know, and I always thought what a wonderful way to look at things. And that's the way I tend to look at things is like, won't it be fun when they pass me?
Mhm.
You know, like, I wonder
Absolutely.
what they're gonna do. Today, they're struggling. I was too. I still struggle with things with AI, obviously, but, like, I wonder where they'll be when they pass me. When one day they go, "Hey, Brian, I know you're saying this is the way to do it, but I am assured this is the right path."
Yeah.
That'd be so cool. It gives me goosebumps. It gives it so cool, you know? Anyway, what do you got? You wrap it up, Beth. Take us home. What do you wanna talk about, like, as we wrap it up? I know we're kinda at the hour here.
We are. And I think that that is one of the things that we are coming toward in the shifts that we're trying to make. Because the people, I'll just go back to learning how to draw. Um, it is harder to learn how to draw from someone who was always had that skill. They didn't learn how to draw, they always saw things and knew how to their
Mhm,
body knew how to, like, make that representation on a paper. It is you can learn things from them after you have a certain level of skill, now you can have those conversations with them. But initially, it's much easier to learn to draw from someone who learned to draw. Right? Like,
sure.
it's a scaffolding place, and if you set the scaffold correctly, or if you set enough scaffold, I guess, you're not trying to predict exactly where they go. You're just getting them to a place where now, like, what do you wanna jump off to?
Mm,
And the AI things that I feel like people are pivoting toward, specifically in terms of vibe coding, but also, um, it was, custom GPTs before. Identify the result that you want, right? Identify the thing that you want help with. You're motivated enough that you'll spend the time to get it to that place. But you also have your own innate test of if it's working or not, right? You don't have
mm.
to figure something out. It did the thing or it didn't do the thing. If it didn't do the thing, go back and, like, try to find more ways to do that or think through it again. And yeah, I feel like this whole conversation today has really been looking at this place where we're at of, um, needing to accept that some things are unknowable and confront that, but also, recognize the places where we've already done that and all other places in our life, and so let's see what we need to feel comfortable accepting things that are unknowable in terms of AI.
I love it.
Um, all
Love
right.
it. We'll
Well,
wrap it up there.
yeah, thanks everybody. Um, so we are here all next week. We have a newsletter coming out on Sunday.
Conundrum
Do
tomorrow.
we
I
Yeah.
haven't done it yet, but there'll be a conundrum tomorrow. But I haven't started it. Don't know what it's going to be. Be a surprise for everybody. That comes out on Spotify for anybody want to do. They're doing really well, by the way. We were talking about that last night at a meeting with Andy and Jimmy. We were just kind of chatting, and the conundrum episodes do really well, despite the fact that it's only about 3 minutes of me. Maybe there's something to that, Beth. I don't know. It's 3 minutes of me followed by a lot of AI voices, and they do well. So
Oh,
there will be another one tomorrow, but I don't know what it'll be.
all right. Well, cool. Hope everybody has a great weekend and do things with AI.
Yeah.
And we miss Junmi's aloha, so we say aloha Junmi.